All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 9:30 and there are already several people joining us for today's event of International Data Spaces Association on the Data Space User Group. So I think we wait 1 or 2 more minutes, but I start talking already. My name is Thorsten Hülsmann. I'm one of the two managing directors of IDSA, responsible for finance, legal, and internationalization. And it's really a pleasure to have you here for today's launch event of the Data Space User Group. I'm observing a little bit the participant list. So we have now more than 100 people, 110. So I think as people are still joining, we just wait 1 or 2 more minutes. And in the meantime, I can already start introducing some of the people who will join us today, the speakers. So I think from the IDSA team, you see my colleague Lars Nagel, the CEO of IDSA, and Sebastian Steinbus, who's the CTO, and Shani Tiran, who is the manager for the Data Space User Group activities. And then we have in the background Andreas from the events and marketing team, and my colleague Gianfranco Cicconi also joining today's meeting. Then, Andreas, if you maybe can go one slide further to the agenda, I can also maybe already start to talk about the agenda. What we will witness today is a welcome from Lars and an introduction from Shani on the topic of the Data Space User Group. It takes a village to build a data space, is the motto for this. Then we will have a panel from, well, the maker's perspective, architect's innovation. And then afterwards, we will have a pitch session from the user's perspective. And at the end, Shani will also give more insights about exploring the full potential of the Data Space User Group. And at the end, we have 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, on Q&A. So I think with this, it's now 4 minutes after 1:30. We can start. And yeah, I think for the welcome, I want to give the floor to my dear colleague, Lars Nagel. Lars, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Thorsten. Great to see all of you. Great to have you this morning, this afternoon, or this night with us. This is an international online event, so people from all over the world are here with us. I'm so happy to have you. Well, why are you here? And why are you interested in data spaces? I think you have heard about the topic of data spaces. Maybe you have been asked by your ecosystem or by your company, like, please join a data space, be part of that. So we are building an automotive data space. We are building a tourism data space, an energy data space. That's a great idea. And then maybe you got already the idea, but maybe you're also confused, like, okay, what is data spaces? What will be the benefit for me as an individual, for me as an organization, as a representative of a company, or maybe as a responsible person in a government who needs to craft a data strategy. So what we are here about is to provide you with the absolute basics, what data spaces are, why it is a good idea to really step into data economy and therefore make your organization ready for new innovation, for sticking to regulation, but also to make your company, your organization, and all the data that you could provide ready for great things like AI. Data spaces is a fundamental tool, so to say, an enabling technology for all the nice ideas that we have for the future. But it's also a complex thing. And you need to make up your mind on different levels from a holistic perspective. It's technology, it's also organizational issues, it's also touching legal issues. And that is where we want to guide you a little bit. Very easily, very like self-consuming, all online, very interactive, something like you would join a conference, but you can do that a whole year. That's a great thing about the user group. So what can we provide? Who is International Data Spaces Association? Well, we have exactly worked on solving the issues that I just mentioned throughout the last 10 years. We have sat and discussed, resonated, reflected, and then defined the fundamentals, what data spaces are. And we have created a big group of organizations, of people, of companies that are like building these data spaces. So we have more than 180 organizations and companies from all over the world, all continents and all economic areas in our membership. And now we are in the phase not only to build the data spaces, but to let them grow, populate them, let them flourish so that everyone can benefit. And that is where we said, like, okay, we need to target a new target group, which are the users of data spaces, because at the end, data spaces will be a commodity, something like the power net. You just plug into the socket in the wall, and then you can do great things. But you need to understand a little bit. And that is what we want to come up with the user group, a new offering, very low balanced. And what we can provide is bringing in contact with the makers of data spaces, those that have the experience, and we will provide you with basic knowledge and give you all the opportunities also to interact. And that is the bundle that we will provide you with the user group. And what that exactly is, what we will provide you, how you can become part of that, and why that is a good idea. That is what you will learn today. And the details will be shared by my dear colleague Shani. She's the project manager for the user group. She has crafted all the great things, brought the people together, and therefore I'm more than happy to have you and to hand over to you, Shani. What great things have you prepared?
Thank you, Lars, and we will dive into that very, very soon. But maybe just to start, in a sense, let me first start by saying a warm welcome from my side as well. It's very, very exciting to see how many people have joined us here. And I think it kind of shows that it has merit in real life, what we're trying to do here. So it's not just at the top of our head. But maybe I can just start and set the stage or share a little bit with where we came from. You started talking about it, but I can maybe expand a little bit. So the way we think about it is that any innovation, and we can go on to the next slide. So any great innovation starts as an idea at the end. And for that idea, as great as it may be, and we really think that data spaces are a great groundbreaking idea, but to turn an idea into a real breakthrough, to have real influence in life, we need to see users adopt it. And we can see here in this slide different innovations from that we all know and are familiar with. And if we take the phone here in the middle, it took 150 years for the phone from when it was first conceived with a patent already to the point where users actually embraced it and it became the household item that we all know. So obviously we're not planning to wait 150 years, and in this day and age, we don't need to, but we do want to see how can we bridge that gap or make it even faster and support user adoption, which is really essential to make data space unlock their potential value. And so when we look at the data space ecosystem, and we can move on to the next slide, we really see today two distinct players. Lars mentioned them already, but maybe just to make sure that we are all aligned on what we call the data space makers on the one side. So these are the architects of data spaces. They are the one building the frameworks, the tools, and they are the one that enable basically sovereign data sharing through data spaces. And then we see the data space users. So these are the businesses, the organization that really want to utilize data spaces for their own needs, to share data in a sovereign manner and unlock the potential value it has. And in order to do that, they will be the ones that are implementing the solutions that the makers make, test their limits, refine them, bring their needs in, and make this solution even better. And so we really see a symbiotic ecosystem with those two types of player. And it's true that in the past few years, when data spaces just started, it was in many senses a maker's playing field, But the ecosystem has matured. We are not in the same place that we were 9 years ago when the concept was first conceived. And so there is more and more place to see how can we support users on board. It is now a much more mature time to help users join this ecosystem and help both sides to make it thrive. And that's also, I think, a great point for me to step back and give the floor back to you, Thorsten, because we started with thinking about those two perspectives of the makers and users and how can we support them. And that's, I think, what we're going to do to hear about in the next hour as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Shani and Lars, for the welcome and this introduction. So before I give the word to my colleague Mariano, I want to also remind you that we have a question and answer section. So whenever during the runtime of the discussions or the presentations you have already questions, please feel free to use the section. We will try also during the session to answer this and that. And if we do not manage in the discussion at the very end of the session to answer all questions, we can do this also as a follow-up in a written manner. Okay, so now we are looking to the data space makers and their impact. And to, well, do this, we have my dear colleague Mariano. And Mariano, I hand over to you immediately that you can introduce the speakers.
Sure. Thank you very much for this. And thank you, Shani and Lars, for this insightful introduction. I think we are experiencing indeed exciting times. I think we are at a critical point where, and personally, I'm very happy to be on the front row experiencing this firsthand. So what is the best way that we can share with the audience how the makers will benefit from the users and why the makers are interested in having these kind of activities impacting all the users? Well, the best way is to have these, I would say, heavyweights of the data spaces sector and ecosystem who will share their views on this. We'll have Alberto, Hanno, and Sebastian. The first one, according to this order, will be Alberto Berreteaga. Alberto is part of Tecnalia. We are very happy and honored to have Tecnalia as one of the competence centers of IDSA. And we are very, very happy to have Alberto as IDSA ambassador. So without further ado, Alberto, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everybody. If you can jump to the next slide, I'm going to go directly to the content. We at Tecnalia, we are a private research institution in Spain, and we have done, we are doing, and we will do quite a lot around data spaces. And as a maker here, I highlight three elements. I think they are quite relevant because as a maker, Tecnalia, we have been doing quite a lot about data spaces that has to do with data, because data travels at the speed of trust, you know, famous data space saying. We have been working with IDSA and with more people and with companies and data spaces here around basics of data spaces, data governance, trust, privacy, security, essential elements for the data economy. And on the technical side, okay, data does not float on rainbows neither. We have been working around the technologies, support the implementation of the data spaces. We have later on Sebastian from Sovity and more people that are pure developers. We have been working with them. We are working with them in these technical layers. And we are working more and more around artificial intelligence being an important stakeholder on data spaces, providing or consuming data in a data space or around different data spaces. But I will not focus today around artificial intelligence, but on the, please, next slide, about this for us. And I think that this picture you can see here, it's from the Eclipse Data Space Working Group from Peter Hoyne from Microsoft. For us, I think that the point of view of Tecnalia is that the data spaces are communities. You can see around that those bubbles that are users, data consumers, data providers, both on different communities, industrial, jurisdictional community, different players, different partners, different companies, different organizations exchanging roles. And we are working a lot around providing governance, providing mechanisms to deal with data sharing around them, providing technical solutions. But for us, this is the future and the perfect picture about what data spaces will be in the future. You can see here not a single data space, but multiple data space working together, exchanging data between them, and different partners, different users exchanging data and participation on different data spaces. And okay, we have been working on data governance, quite a lot of data spaces, concepts, on technology to allow this interoperability between data spaces. But what about the users? And I have a final slide here, please. For us, the innovation and the impact, and we will benefit a lot from this users group, is that we are thinking on this users federation, as we are thinking about data space federations, federate interoperability between data spaces. For us, it's crucial to work around a partner or an organization participating on different data spaces. Will they use the same technology, the same connector, the same tools they have? They will need different tools. They will need to onboard different data spaces. Onboarding one will be enough, and the data space will do the onboarding on different data spaces. Are the data providers, the data consumers ready to consume data from different data spaces working together? For us, this is crucial. We have been working a little with final users, again, data providers, data consumers, but we are aware that we need to work more because we are on the way on the technology. We are on the way with the data space protocol, with security frameworks, with, well, the technical layers. The philosophy is there, we are working there, but we need direct work with users to allow this, to allow communities and different partners participating and dealing with different data spaces. The easiest way, seamless way, as easy as possible. For us, this is really important. And for us, the real innovation, we will work a lot in Tecnalia about this, let's say, federation of users. We will learn more about the users group, but for us, this approach is great for us. I think that we will have quite a lot of benefits from the user group from this point of view. This is, for now, this is all, Mariano.
Thank you, Alberto. Very good presentation. My takeaways from here are data travels at the speed of trust. I think it's a very clear, and probably I will quote that in my pitches and in my speeches. So that's very good. And also that the AI is the most important stakeholder of data spaces. Everybody talks about AI, but what this needs to be clear is that behind the AI, you need data, and the data spaces is an excellent tool for that. So thank you very much. Our next speaker is Hanno. Hanno works for Catena-X. He's the managing director for operations and governance, and most importantly, scaling, which is, I think, the key word in this session, scaling. So please, Hanno, go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you, Mariano. And thank you to the IDSA for the invitation. Very important subject for us as well when it comes to users, activation, scaling all across the world. If you've worked in data spaces, you likely came across Catena-X at some point, right? The one thing that you note in this overview slide on Catena-X, where we stand, like what we represent, is there is not, I think, a single reference to a data space. And there's a reason for that, because the users that we're considering and the, let's say, the people that we're addressing at the moment, most critically, are companies in the automotive industry that don't come with the incentive of, like, let's say, joining a theoretical network or like adopting a piece of technology for the sake of it, but really for the purpose of creating business value. And that's specific to the automotive industry for specific use cases. So while we, let's say, had a lot of success over the past years in building up something global with a lot of momentum, you see here, right, we built up an association that represents, let's say, the entire automotive industry globally with OEMs, meaning car manufacturers, suppliers, the IT industry, the ones that are providing solutions based on Catena-X standards and software, as well as SMEs. on the second level, like a global network, same as the IDSA. We work with hubs globally, but also partnerships ranging all the way from the Americas to APAC. And lastly, also spread into different industries, right? We collaborate closely with the Manufacturing X ecosystem, and there are specific sub-projects that range into different industries, all working to establish, let's say, the same software architecture and technology base, regulatory framework base across the globe. That's all nice and pretty, right, on a slide, and I think like a lot of nice newspaper articles about that, a lot of flashy, let's say, headlines. But if you click to the next slide, there's an issue with that, and that is just because you build something pretty and nice and glorious does not mean anyone uses it. Right, and you can have the prettiest throne room with the nicest drapery, all plated in gold. If you don't have a people to govern, if you don't have like let's say companies that are actually making use of it within their business processes, then this is really not worth much. So this is why, from our perspective at the Catena-X Association, we shifted our focus from 2024 to 2025 from a very, let's say, much build-focused strategy, meaning we created standards, we created a governance structure, we created, let's say, the functioning with roles and responsibility for an ecosystem, all the way to now driving business utilization of the system. And this is, I can tell you from someone that's running such an association, this is no easy feat because it requires a culture shift in all of your expert groups, committees, association bodies, and at the same time, like for an association to become somewhat more involved in, I don't want to use the word sales bluntly here, but it really is, let's say, a more marketing-driven approach that you learn from the market feedback that you get globally. You make sure that like whatever you develop fits a market need, and then you also respond to feedback and make sure that sort of like gets implemented in your development cycle. This might sound logical, like running an association with a lot of volunteers. It's again not something that's like just simply done, right? And I can tell you from personal experience, the conversations that I had, I think 2 years ago with some of our OEMs were more like, Hanno, it would be great if we could collaborate on this use case together and develop something nice that we could use in a couple of years. To today, Hanno, we have this problem. We have 30 days to solve it. What can you help us? What can you do to help us? And let's say after 30 days, I can tell you like the follow-up call will be there and it'll be less nice, right? So we're much more focused on actual business and adoption and utilization than we were before, which is why again, like I appreciate the effort also from the IDSA to get more involved in that spirit with the user group, because as nice as the technology behind data spaces is, as nice as the architecture behind it is, let's say, at least in our industry, in the automotive industry, like let's say things are not adopted because they're nice and innovative. They're adopted if they can prove a clear return on investment in a certain time frame, which is why, if you skip to the next slide, what we're focusing on like very clearly this year and in the coming years. As an example here, something from our website, right? Making sure that we make very tangible what can you achieve with let's say using a data space technology but not really talking about it, multi-tier data exchange between different companies here, between an OEM and a first-tier supplier, using one of the Catena-X use cases on quality, meaning what is the challenge, what changes using Catena-X, and what is the end result like that you can expect if you get involved in this use case. And the reason why I'm saying this also on this forum and why I wanted to share this with you all is like, I experienced this a lot in, let's say, international forums, in, let's say, companies that approach us to talk about sort of like what can we do to make, let's say, our data space more successful? What can we learn also from Catena-X? It really is this key message that like build it around an industry or like an actual concrete problem. Don't build it around, let's say, something that is shiny. Let's put it this way. And sometimes this even like the least sexy of the use cases are the ones that actually work and are actually the ones that are driving the utilization in the end. Yeah, I think that's it for let's say a quick impulse. Thank you again for having me, and looking forward to hear from Sebastian, who I think is deeply involved in the things that we're doing at the moment.
Yeah, thank you very much, Hanno. And very glad to see that we are aligned in this, that you said that you had the phase of building and now you are moving to the phase of scaling. That's exactly our approach and our idea. And to complement this, we have Sebastian Kleff, who is the CEO of Sovity. And well, we've been working together with Sovity for quite some time. We actually, your offices are across the street, so we see each other very often, and we are very aligned on many topics. And today's point would be for you, Sebastian, to complement what the other speakers said about how makers and users can work together. Please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Hello, and thank you, Mariano, for and the entire IDSA for launching this event and inviting us. So, who are we? Who is Sovity, right? So, on the next slide, you see a brief introduction, because we are the company supporting you with data space technology, setting up an entire new data space or connecting you with an existing data space. We have a very long history with data spaces. So I personally was employee number 3 of IDSA, was part of the founding meeting back in 2016. And my co-founder, Sebastian Kleff, has a very long history with Fraunhofer ISST and was building the first technologies around connector. And since many years, we now active as Sovity, being an independent company, supporting many different data spaces. So you see Catena-X here. So I have one little success story with me today, how we support Catena-X, but we are also active in other data spaces like Manufacturing X, Maintenance, or Omega X. And you see, I've brought some logos on the right-hand side that industry companies are trusting our technology. We see ourselves as a technology provider, providing the relevant technology building blocks which are required to join or access data spaces. So what is the background? On the next slide, you see why we have founded a company dedicated for data spaces. We have observed that there are a lot of pilots over the years, POCs implemented around data spaces. However, at the end, it never went beyond that pilot. We didn't see it scaling, and we have identified especially the technology also as obstacle around it. Data space is a complex technology, a complex topic. You need to have deep knowledge around it. At the end, also, it's costly and time-consuming if you would like to understand all the technical details by yourself. And also, as an industry company, you might not want to do that. You want to build your products. You want to focus on your core business and not taking care of data sharing infrastructure. And these are the key reasons why we have founded Sovity. So what is our value proposition? On the next slide, you see that we enabling the lowest entry barriers to data spaces, being connecting to one existing data space, for example, like Catena-X, so where we are supporting many companies and getting part of it, but also we establishing and setting up a whole new data space with you. We taking care of a very easy usage. So we really don't want you to have all the technical skills. We are the technical experts and are the experts in all of these details of the technical building blocks. You tell us what you need, your requirements, and we provide a scalable solution which can scale from a number of data sharing assets or number of companies in a very professional product. So we are focusing on technology products, and also having open source solutions available. So in our GitHub repository, you can find open source versions of an entire data space or of a connector solution, which we contribute back and are very easy to use. On the next slide, I've brought one success story to show that really data spaces are live. And this is a real use case within the automotive, within Catena-X. So we supporting OEMs and suppliers in the automotive industry with our technology, with the data space in Catena-X, to share data around product certificates. So this is where 65,000 data assets per day were exchanged between different suppliers and OEMs to validate that a product has the relevant quality certificates in place. So this shows that the data space is really live. We're connecting operational and relevant data, because this is production relevant information which is shared via the data space. If the product certificate does not reach the OEM is not allowed to assemble the car, which means at the end that the assembly line stops. And you can imagine what costs are behind that if an assembly line in the automotive industry just stops for a couple of minutes. And this kind of very critical information is shared via the data space Catena-X. So this shows for us also that it's now the time of not doing research or POC projects anymore. It's now really the time to onboard more and more companies. And this is what we are focusing on as well. As Sovity, we can support connecting all the companies to existing data spaces, building up your data spaces with the relevant technology. And I'm really looking forward to the data space user group, seeing the feedback and realizing what the real market outside of our data space bubble is demanding and driving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. Very important concepts, the connector as a service and data space as a service. I think that's exactly what we need to lead the complexity behind and allow the users to use the data spaces directly. Thank you very much for the three. I think you provided enough signals that the market is indicating that now it's the time for the data spaces to ramp up and incorporate the users. And with that, thank you again to the speakers, and over to you, Torsten.
Thank you. Thank you, Mariano. And also thank you for the three of you for this great insights. Now we are jumping, let's say, to the data space users perspective, and we have invited three distinguished experts on this, which are managing or operating or running or are involved in, let's say, data spaces where users benefit and are creating value. So first of all, the first input comes from Jonathan from EONA-X. And Jonathan, I think it is a little bit about tourism, maybe. I read and studied about it. So please speak up. First input from your side.
Thank you very much for having us this morning, and I couldn't agree more with what has been said earlier, and I would like to also take the opportunity to thank Lars, which came yesterday 2 days ago to our yearly event. It's exactly what was being said, the synergies between users, trying to mix tourism, of course, but also mobility and transportation, including logistics. And in the few minutes that I have today to tell you about EONA-X, but also about users and how users and makers are there to work together, I really would like to underline this operationalization of data spaces. That's like last year we had the Olympic Games we were trying to show off, that, okay, data spaces can be trusted with very strategic, important, crucial information, such as what Sebastian was saying. You can't miss. And at the same time, in September, when the Olympic Games had passed, we had all our participants come with us with 3, 4, 5 use cases saying, okay, I like this in 6 months. I like this. Okay, can you do it in 3? And really wanting to use it. And not with small use cases, quite ambitious ones. But this is very, very interesting because we really have something useful. And thanks for creating this user community, which will, I think, go well with the maker ecosystem, which is being built. I'll just take a minute here to show you a bit more about the EONA-X ecosystem. I took a slide which I showed in Warsaw just to show you here different verticals. There are about 30 participants today in EONA-X. And as you can see, there's some blue and some yellow. Basically, we have some people who are in mobility and transportation, but at the intersection also with tourism. Of course, there's no tourism if you don't go anywhere. So mobility is intertwined into tourism. And of course, logistics and mobility are also linked in air traffic and trains, etc. You have passengers, but you also have freight. So this is a part of this diversity where we think in an ecosystem, users can collaborate. It creates synergy. We also have people who are in between, who could be tech providers, who could be people who get assistance, advice, and they can also help use the data space. As was being said, it's not just having people who are there with their data, but also having all the help to bring your use cases to life and to create value. So we've tried to have these communities into one. Here, just to show you, because there was a recent update this week, all the ones that you see below were announced on stage. So we were building this ecosystem. We've grown. Well, we've doubled every year, actually. We'll see if we can follow that course in the coming years. But same for our staff. I was the first, as was being said here by Sovity. I was the first last year. Now there's about 20 people working in EONA-X. So this is growing very fast. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because the interest for data spaces is growing, and us on the same time we're running to deliver use cases and making it work. And it's going to be for someone like me, which is in charge of trying to build ecosystems. I can't try to bring more and more people and at the same time deliver very operational use case without some help. And at the moment we were trying to tell the world that data spaces work. Now it's not what we're saying is come and join us, because there's another value which is not the data catalog or the services. It's also the size of ecosystems so that they can be sustainable. There's a critical mass that we need to attain for this to fly in the long term, and the value also comes from the ecosystem. So I really want to thank IDSA for launching this. I also would like to say that it takes a village. It's a good way of putting it. We believe in EONA-X. It's a different approach than in Catena-X, but I think that everything can work. That there are synergies in the diversity. For us, we want diversity at a European level, not just a national sort of territorial position. We also want public and private to be able to interact. We also want large groups, as you could see in some of the logos, but also SMEs. So this tri-dimensional diversity is also key for the success of a data space. You have to put the right ingredients at the same time. And so all the help we can have to build these communities, these ecosystems, is as crucial as building something with a connector and having data going from one to another. So thank you for that. Of course, anyone interested, don't hesitate to reach out, but I'm sure we will be in contact in the IDSA community. And thanks again for having us this morning.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for this input from EONA-X. And whenever I'm listening or watching to these 2 or 3 dimensional, let's say, ecosystem graphics, I think we cannot point on and on to the topic of interoperability, because this is at the end, of course, what differentiates or will differentiate data spaces from, let's say, data silos, right? And this is exactly the reason why I again want to point to my dear colleague Sebastian Steinbus, who is the IDSA CTO, but on top of this, involved in many of the standardization efforts. A lot of working groups on formal standards, whether it is the ISO, let's say, direction or the Sensenelec direction, are depending on participation, and in a lot of these working groups, Sebastian is really pushing very hard and trying to keep this flag of interoperability up. So I think this can also be mentioned. Okay, now we jump to the second input. It comes from Riccardo Giovannotti from the GDSO service organization. And Riccardo, welcome and nice that you are with us. Please, the floor is yours, and we are listening to your input.
Thank you so much, Thorsten, and thanks everyone for this opportunity, because that's really what we look at this user group, an opportunity for everyone. It doesn't matter if it is a user or it's also for the governance body. So you can go to the second slide. That is indeed the only slide. I would like just to introduce briefly GDSO, because many of you may not be aware about that. GDSO stands for Global Data Service Organization for Tires and Automotive Components. What does it mean? It's an international non-for-profit organization, let's say mainly like IDSA. We create standards, but on a specific sector, on tires. Why? Because, you know, tires are not connected. They are not an electronic device. And we understood that as an industry, we should hurry up in adopting the latest technical standards, the latest solution in leveraging on identifying goods, segregating them, and then allowing data sharing. And, you know, it's like for emerging countries. We were so behind schedule that we said, okay, let's go to the latest status. And then we decided to go for data spaces principle, the protocols themselves in developing our data space. As you may see on the screen, there are giants in terms of companies. The key point is that, however, the biggest challenge that we have got today as an organization is that for sure we are an international not-for-profit one. We are a governance body, and we are providing the technical solution, but we do not really deep dive on the economics, let's say this way. That's a weak point for us. Why? Because every time we are trying to engage new users, that's the fundamental question they're trying to raise. What's the business value in joining a data space? And, you know, to respect competition laws, we cannot even discuss about that. I mean, I cannot ask Bridges and Yokohama to discuss about that in our meetings. So we see a gap in terms of maturity, because, guys, it's not a secret. As soon as you talk about data spaces, people are start looking at the sky, thinking that we are talking about Elon Musk sending a car on Mars. Well, in reality, what you are talking about is really a step forward for the industry, no matter the sector. And sometimes it's not that simple to provide that kind of business value. So we see a gap in the different industries that today are really manufacturing in capturing the value of a data space from a governance body in sharing that kind of numbers. And for me, what I understood is that really this initiative from IDSA may cover the gap. Why? First of all, because it will allow users, but also governance body like GDSO, to join together a wider, let's say, arena where experience can be shared. Again, respecting competition law guidelines. I'm not expecting, I don't know, Bosch to report how many billions they're saving, but possibly they can report some user story. Something like, hey guys, we implemented something that allowed us to save, I don't know, 1 minute per operation. And then everyone can try to define the value through their own operation. But not only, it could be supporting a gradual understanding and onboarding. Again, more and more what I understood is that both manufacturer and user are looking for, let me say, what we can call a quick and dirty entry point and solution. So apps. And then letting IDSA, GDSO, EONA-X, and all the others, Catena, to talk about clearinghouses, connector layers, security. You know, it's really fundamental. But then users and manufacturer must, let's say, invest time and money on what is bringing value for them. So again, I see this user group as an opportunity to share experience, to detect opportunities that then can be, let's say, becoming a business case for different users, a gradual onboarding, and not, I mean, the last but not the least, also a possible, comfort zone. What if a user is looking for a training material supporting? That could be a direct contact with the source for information. That is different than, for example, GDSO to create additional training material based on an IDSA. It's the famous game that if you say dog, someone else is understanding box. So that's what I see. The last but not the least, as I was saying, it could be also a bottom-up challenge to the governance body. Again, we saw, for example, Catena-X pretty challenging and busy in different activities. We are operating in the same, let's say, industry, both in the automotive industries with different scopes for sure. And not necessarily I may have the visibility about what Catena is doing and the other way around. But through the users, this kind of better understanding catch up also in terms of IT solution technicalities can then represent an alignment for the governance bodies. And again, a bottom-up challenge for us. Users may detect opportunities and then challenge GDSO and the other governance body. So again, I see this user group as an opportunity, no matter if you are a user or a governance body, but again, in trying to join the effort, detecting opportunities and capturing really the business value that the data spaces may bring forward. Again, I didn't want to focus too much on GDSO because it's tire related. It could be tiring for many, but that's something I wanted to stress for those connected today. Thanks, Thorsten, for the opportunity.
Perfect. Thank you, Riccardo. Thank you, Riccardo, for this input. Yeah, and then I think third in this session, I want to hand over to Paola Astegiano from Fit Consulting in Rome, and most probably we are listening about something which has to do with transport and logistics, right, Paola? This is what the background is. So please go ahead.
Looks like from the title, looks like urban freight. Yeah, good morning, everyone, and thanks, of course, for this invitation to this user group. Because, we, as FET, as Thorsten mentioned, we are a small company based in Rome. We provide technical support in the field of transport and mobility, but we are really collecting the needs of our client, and we are really understanding the importance of the data space. That's why today I'm going to talk a bit about one project that we are coordinating. Maybe if you click 3 times, that appear just a couple of things more. Okay, perfect. So one, the DISCO project, just to frame the context, what we are talking about. The DISCO project started a couple of years ago. The main topic of this project is like to, I would say, to upscaling to a new generation of urban logistic planning using a physical internet-led approach. This means that we are working on implementing measures related to urban logistics, but related with the optimization of the urban space. Then, given that within this project, we are developing a urban freight data space. As FET, I would say that we are not makers and we are not users at the moment, but we are something in between, and I will explain in a bit. So the architecture that you see here is actually the result of the work of other partners, Illecom, IMEC, Acodis, and IDSA. Basically, as you can see here, we have onboarded in this urban freight data space not only partner from the DISCO project itself, and this is the added value because we have some municipalities, we have logistic operator, and we have application coming from the DISCO project itself, but we manage also to onboard external entities. So this means that they saw the added value to join the urban freight data space, and this was the case of other municipalities, but also of other applications. Maybe if you can go one slide. I think is nice. What I would like to share with you is what we learned so far. As I said, the project started 2 years ago and will finish in 1 year and a half, so there is still time to get new lesson learned. But so far, what I can tell you, the starting, it was not easy, because of course the concept of the data space 2 years ago was still an emerging concept, I would say, for many, at least people involved in urban freight context. So it was really a long journey to make them easy to understand what we were talking about. So we really made many webinars, many easy play, and what we understood at the end, that creating some demos help a lot. So I think that the user group can be beneficial for the DISCO partners. We are a very large consortium because we can have access to other use cases that's with which they can get familiar. On the other hand, within DISCO, we really built and created a lot of material that we can put at disposal of this user group. I think that the slides will be shared, so you will be able also to get access to the links that I put here, where you can surf through our knowledge hub, where you can see some written resources, but also videos that can really help all the people involved in this user group. Next slide, Thorsten. On the other hand, next slide, I do not see. Okay, yeah. As FIT, as I said, as FIT, we are at the moment something in the middle between maker and users. We will never be maker because we do not, it's not our background. But of course, maybe for the needs of our client, we can become users of the data space. On the other hand, we really support this concept, and that's why we facilitate the connection between makers and users. We try to make them to talk more, I would say, and also given our experience that we do in European project, we work then a lot to bring the international expertise at local level in Italy specifically. So we work a lot in this direction. Then also to support the user group, what we do, we are already promoting everywhere, of course, on our social. We launch a new European project coordinated by us, again, as a DISCO, where we will have a part dedicated to the data space. I cannot disclose much at the moment because we'll start in July. However, Thorsten will be there, so he will make, we already reserved some time for him to expand the voice about this user group. Then, of course, we will be happy to share our experience in other sessions, and so that we can share with you other lessons learned. And on the other hand, we are open to new collaboration. So if we see that there are, from our side, from your side, anyone in the user group, that there are possibilities for collaboration, we are open to it. Yeah, that's it from my side, Thorsten.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Paola, for this input, and also for the motivation, I would say. Thank you. Before I hand over to you, Shani, let me just briefly have a look into the chat, into the question and answer section, because there are 3 comments. So Bruno, you have to wait for the input of Shani, because in her input, the benefits for joining the IDSA user group will be described in detail. So thank you for this question to make us even more excited to listen to Shani. And then Jessica has something for Hanno. I think Hanno will answer bilaterally on this. And also the first question of Jessica, yes, of course. So it is questioning if there are also completely privately financed data spaces. I would say yes, the majority is privately financed. But those data space projects or initiatives who have received public funding are maybe a little bit more visible because simply on stages they are talking here and there. But I want to refer to the data space radar because in this data space radar a lot of examples, use cases are displayed, and maybe Andreas, if one of us could share in the chat the respective links, then we can also have a relation for everyone who is interested in on this. Great. So then I will hand over to you, Shani, to talk about the data space user group in more detail and how participants can explore the full potential of it.
Thanks, Torsten. Yeah, so I think this past hour or so, we heard a lot about the why. So I think, I hope that we are all a bit more clear as to why do we need users in data space and why do we need to support that, that endeavor, because it's not happening fast enough naturally, let's say, and we can help alleviate those barriers. So just a second. My presentation doesn't work. Maybe, sorry for that. Maybe Andreas, take control back because it doesn't work for me. Yeah. So the good news is, if we talked about the why, maybe I can focus on the how a little bit. That you don't need to start from scratch. So a lot of the heavy lifting has been done. We saw it in the past hour or so. There are already prosperous data spaces. There are solutions out there. The question is, how do we step into those? We don't need to build from scratch. And so, and we can move to the next slide. What can we do to support you in joining data spaces? Data spaces are complex. I'm not saying here that we will, with the user group, be able to remove all complexity. I mean, that's where the opportunity lies. We are talking here about trusted ecosystem of sovereign data sharing. There's only so much simplicity it can have. But what we can do is use that complexity or manage that complexity. And that's what we want to help you achieve with the user group. You don't need to master it, you just need a guided way in. And what we took a look at is the different questions that users have. And we can see in the next slide a few of those questions. And I think we heard some of those questions today as well. So what are the business opportunities with data spaces? How do we get more awareness into data spaces? And what are the first steps that we need to take? So considering all those questions, we try to distill the unique needs that users have. So, and next slide, please. So what are the needs of users? Users need the following three in order to move on from building, which we don't need to do anymore, to using and utilizing data spaces. So users need to discover the partners and the data spaces that will be the best match for their business needs. They also need to understand data spaces and the business opportunities they enable better. And they need to find the right solutions, the right softwares that will enable them to onboard in an efficient manner into those data spaces and really unlock those business opportunities. And so we looked at those needs and tried to think what are the activities that we can give in order to support those needs. So with the user group, what we tried to create is basically a bundle of activities that together will bring users, one, opportunities to engage with peers and with experts and step on into this network and to this ecosystem. Second, business insights. So really practical knowledge that will help users into finding out what opportunities are out there and leverage them. And lastly, knowledge, because at the end, you do need to have some basic knowledge into this world of data spaces in order to be able to to take it into fruition. So all around knowledge, from tech to strategic knowledge, business knowledge, and everything in between. And if we go into a little more in detail, what does that mean? So it won't be just like catchphrases. When we talk about engagement, the following activities is what we're trying to offer here, with the idea of not having just networking for the sake of networking, but really having something that is of use to the users. So first of all, users will be able to join weekly ecosystem calls. These are weekly calls that that also include our members in them. So the maker's profile is already in these calls. And these are opportunities to learn what is out there, to stay up to date on recent event, recent news, and really deep dive into different use cases, different solutions, every week with a different topic in the focus. We will also offer a dedicated channel for users to voice their needs. So we talked about this, we heard this today. So at the end, there's only so much that the makers can do on their own. We really need to make sure that the solutions and that what we at IDSA are doing with the IDSA roadmap really caters to the real world needs. So there will be a dedicated channel where users can funnel in their collectively their needs and shape our roadmap. And lastly, exclusive collaboration opportunities, so ad hoc opportunities to collaborate with peers and experts. And to just give like a small glimpse of what does it actually look like. So if we take the ecosystem building calls, for examples, you can already see here the next 3 calls that are planned. So for those of you that are that will join us really quickly, you can already onboard onto those and join us this Monday with update on the standardization strategy that affects the entire data spaces ecosystem in a sense. And you can see here KPN data space services. So this is more a call that will be more on the solution side and the business side. And then a week afterwards, we will have a technical deep dive. So we really try to be here very, to have a wide breadth of subjects that are of matter to you. If we move into the next pillar of activities, so when we talk about business insight, we will provide users with, first of all, a monthly data space brief with key trends and updates. And to sort of complement that, there will also be a biannual data space now magazine with a deep ecosystem analysis. So together, the hope is that you will get a comprehensive view of what is going on and really be able to take what is going on out there into practical needs. And as an example, again, to kind of give this a bit more tangibility, let's say, if we take the magazine, for example, and we can move on to the next slide. So the magazine, by the way, it was, let's say, it was open to the public before, but from now on, it will be available exclusively to user group subscribers and to the IDSA members. With the magazine, the next edition will be planned in June, so very, very soon. And you can see here already some of the topics that we will cover. So global quest for common standards, so what is going on with standardization, what is going on with internationalization, and AI, obviously, because we have to talk about AI when we talk about data spaces. We didn't talk about any technology these days. And how can it relate to data spaces and leverage each other? So that's just like a small example of what is planned when we talk about business insights. And the last pillar of activities will be the all-around knowledge. So here, the idea is really to give a comprehensive overview of whatever it is that users need in order to step on to data spaces. So first, it will be with the solution arena. That will be sort of a one-stop shop or one hub where you can find tools, solutions, providers. So the idea is to create a comprehensive landscape of what is out there, because really we see with users, and we heard it today as well, where do we start? how can we find out about what Sovity presented, for example, if not in these kind of calls, where and who else exists out there? So we will have a comprehensive landscape as well as monthly solution arena calls where we will actually very much deep dive into specific solutions, maybe show certain places demonstrations, and so on. So this will be really a hands-on experience with solutions. And then the largest data space library, building on the 9 years that we have experienced and the knowledge that we have accumulated. So really with papers and tools and guides and presentations and event recording and so on, all in one place where you can sort of search, filter, find in your own pace what is needed for your own needs when it comes to knowledge. And a sneak peek into the knowledge pillar as well. We can move on to the next slide. So the next solution call will already take place June 3rd, so that's in 2 weeks. And to sort of help you understand better maybe what we are trying to do here and what is the value, we are also opening the first solution call to the public. So it's open to everybody, and we really want to welcome you to join us. You have the barcode here and you will get to the slides as well. And after that, next ones will be exclusive to users. So first call, we will have sort of 2 different perspectives into onboarding into data space. One technical with a solution that is modular connector, really lean, let's say, solution. And then T-System with a data intelligence hub that brings in a more comprehensive managed ecosystem where you can use to onboard into data spaces. So with all that in mind, if we take it all together and we can move to the next slide, there was a question of the benefits. So I hope this is also convincing when it comes to the benefits. These are the activities that we are planning to do with the users. And this user group will also be, it's important to say here, it's a living creature in a sense, because the idea here is to cater to the needs of the users in order to support them in their journey to adopt data spaces. So we will all see together in the future, in the next iteration, if we need to add on new activities as well. And the main idea here that we have is to try and reduce complexity as much as we can, or help you manage the complexity. And so we also thought that's the right way to approach it when it comes to how do you access this information. And if we move to the next slide, so we are funneling all of this together into one platform with everything you need. So one login, one place where you can access the materials at your own pace and find really easily these events that we talked about today and onboard onto them as well, with recordings of those events and so on. And if we move to the next slide, we also try to make it less complex when it comes to how to join the data space user group. So we as IDSA, we obviously are a member association, and we work very closely with our members that are more in the maker's profile. But with the users, we know that sometimes this bureaucracy can be, let's say, overburdening, and also it's not needed because the needs are different, the needs of the users. So we also try to do something that is more simple here. So the user group will be accessible with just a simple subscription, basically, where you can subscribe like you would subscribe to anything else as an organization, without any legal commitments and no barriers of entry, hopefully making it as simple as possible for you to join. And if we can move to the next slide, we also tried to create here, let's say, a tiered approach to joining the user group so that it could cater to the different needs. So on the one hand, we have a more attractive pricing, let's say, when you join in with more users, for those that really want to be involved and be hands-on. But then on the other hand, if you are more in the testing the waters stage and just one user is enough, even if you are a bigger organization, you can also join in with just one user to the user group. And so maybe to also sum up where the user group fits into everything that we are doing, and we can move to the next slide. So how does it look like? The idea here is to create the right path for everybody. So maybe some people don't need the user group because they're just curious to hear what are data spaces. So obviously we still provide a lot of great materials for the general access. So all the core concepts and open license assets of IDSA will remain open to the public. And then the user group, the data space user group, as I said, that would be a great solution for data space users that are looking for tools, resources, and opportunities for engagement. And then we also have the association membership that it's more fitting to the, let's say, data space maker profile. And in case we have any members here in this call, it's also important to say that members have unrestricted access to the user group as well. So the idea is also to create a join-in place, as we said, for users and for makers. And that's one of the ways to do it. So hopefully everybody can choose their own path and find the right fit based on their needs. And with that, I think we can move on to the next slide. And hopefully here I have managed to answer all the questions, but we can also open it up for the floor for questions and see what else needs to be covered.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Shani, for this very comprehensive explanation. And I think, for instance, the question of Kruno on the benefits is really clearer now. Let me maybe start with picking one question from the Q&A section from Phil Bennett. Because Phil is asking if we are able to share examples of data spaces in the social, environmental, or humanitarian issue. So Phil, yes, there are data spaces out there. I only have in my personal mind the idea that in the Basque Country, the ByData Association is working on several data spaces for the social aspects, which are also facilitated by the social department of the regional or local government. So this might be a hint. And also there are several environmental activities or initiatives, for instance, the Green Deal Data Space Association, which is uptaking all the IDSA concepts and standards to build on data sharing for environmental reasons. And please, colleagues, afterwards, maybe you can, as a follow-up, also post the one or the other link into the chat to, well, direct to this topic. So this is one question which I just wanted to address up front. But Shani, back to you. Can you complement this on social, environmental, and humanitarian issues with maybe more examples or hints?
No, not from the top of my head. So I think we covered. Yeah.
Okay, then we will do it as a follow-up and send to everyone who is interested the respective links. Thank you. And then I've spotted in the chat another remark, which is maybe not a question, but it is a remark from Akira Sakaino, who is mentioning that it would be also nice to introduce to the user groups certain test environments or offers of the data space makers. And I think partly this remark was answered, Shani, in your contribution to the solution arena, because this, I think, is exactly the reason and the value added of the solution arena. Is this right?
Yeah, I think that sums it up as well. So the solution arena will really be the place for this to prosper, I would say.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. So with this, I think we are, let's say, concluding the input of Shani, and have now roughly 15 minutes time to more question and answers, which are either directed towards the explanations and the inputs from Shani on the user group as such, or on the broader data space examples we listened from the 6 panelists. Shani, you have to help me out because I'm looking in the Q&A section and have no further questions, but I see a hand raised from Deborah. Is it possible for Deborah to simply speak up?
I can try. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, it works. Perfect.
Oh, great.
Deborah,
Okay, thank you
nice
very
to
much.
see you.
That's the thing. I don't think the camera is
Too many
shareable,
people.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's
We have
quite
too
all
many
right.
people, unfortunately.
That's quite right. So first of all, a deep thank you for really interesting information. I'm an attorney that focuses on cybersecurity and data privacy and a few other topics, but specifically I wanted to ask two questions. First of all, going over the Data Spaces Radar, it's a fantastic resource and really interesting to take a look at. And as I wrote, it would be great to hear, if we could, about what the first steps are in reaching out to, via, of course, the IDSA, to relevant participants and partners. I'm specifically thinking about outer space operations. There's a lot of data sharing that goes on already, but it would be great to bring it under this roof. And the second point, and sorry if I missed any information on this, I'm also an academic and are very interested in whether there are collaborations, not necessarily in the context of building data spaces, but whether there's academic research which is moving along kind of in a parallel path or connected with the data space user groups. Obviously, there's a lot of information out there and a lot of academic articles, publications. Have you specifically collaborated with a research institution? Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Deborah, for these two topics. So I think on the second item, we can, of course, connect and also share a lot of resources, as you said, of academic institutions who are mainly working on the technological parts, but there are also research going on, for instance, on the business models of data ecosystems and everything which is around. So maybe Shani and Mariano, we can gather this as a follow-up and share it with the participants as well. I think this is good. And I think the first issue was not a question; it was more an input, right? So no need to answer on this.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Then I see Bruno. You have your hand raised as well.
Yeah, thank you for answering my first question. It helped a lot. I actually asked another question, but maybe it is not visible in the Q&A, so you can ignore it because now I will ask the same thing. Regarding the start of implementing data spaces, and when we are trying to establish our own data space for our own solution, so just the first starting steps. If I understood you well, in this user group membership, actually there is not a channel where we can ask some technical questions when we have some problems or obstacles in establishing a data space, building data space. And also in the slides, if I'm not wrong, I noticed that in that case you are actually recommending this advanced level of membership. I'm not sure about the name. I think it is something about 3,000 euros or more. So am I right in this assumption that when building the data space, this advanced membership is recommended? And of course, there is still a question what this membership includes, because there is 3,000 plus. So this plus can hide many benefits, and of course, what are the corresponding costs? So maybe if you can just clear it up a little bit about what should be our approach when we are starting to build our own data spaces within our own some pilot projects and so on. Do you still recommend user group membership for the beginning, or should we jump immediately in this advanced membership? And in general, where we could get more information about this advanced membership and what is actually offered because plans start at 3,000 euros per year. So, thank you.
Okay. Shani, do you want to start? And
I can start, and then Torsten, feel free to jump in. Maybe start with the 3,000 because there was also a question about it in the chat. I see here we don't have it big enough. There are lower rates available for non-profit association and startups. 3,000 is the general price, and pricing for membership is based on the revenue of the organization. So it's based on income. Membership rates did not change. So it's 3,000 for the regular prices, but NGOs and so on. I hear myself for some reason. But NGOs and startups have their own special prices. The question regarding what, I don't want to look at the user group and the membership maybe and say this is more an extended version and this is less. And this is also only a recommendation at the end. So we think as far as profiles, when we try to profile the different organizations that are here in this field, we think that the user group will be more fitting for those that are in the profile of users. So they will not be the ones that are building data spaces, but it's not necessarily the case for each and every organization. This is not a cut and dry answer in that sense. And we think that the membership will be more fitting for makers, and it will also give them the ability to co-create with us the standards and all the assets that we are creating in IDSA. So maybe my answer is not a simple yes, go for the membership, no, go for the user group. It's an individual decision at the end. With the user group, it will be more in the line of what is of relevance to data space users that look to onboard into data spaces. Torsten, maybe you want to add on to that as well.
Yeah. No, I think this is comprehensively described, and I think Kuno, we also need to understand what exactly your approach will be. I could imagine that if you stay in the user group, this will be sufficient. Becoming or getting in contact with providers of solutions for data space technologies, like for instance, Sebastian Kleff as presented from Sovity or others. So then you can already start your data space to establish it, to ramp it up. But if you are more interested in also shaping, let's say, for instance, the new versions of the reference architecture of IDSA, or work on certain open source projects, or get involved in the real working groups of the association itself, then it is recommended maybe to become a member. But we can maybe do it as a follow-up bilaterally if you're okay with this. But your hand is raised, so maybe one more remark on it.
Yeah, just I'm actually asking for something in between. So if I want to use, for example, existing data space connectors to establish my own data space, so I'm not only using the already established data spaces like Catena-X or something like that, and I'm at the moment not interested to shape your long-term roadmap, but just to use, for example, existing data space connectors and other components to establish my own data space. So it is somewhere in between. So and because of that, I'm not sure, but okay, we can discuss it later on via email. So thank you.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Kuno. All right, then colleagues, help me with more questions. So
there's questions in the chat as well, Torsten. So not only in the Q&A.
Okay. Need to have a look there. Shani, have you spotted something which is immediately to be answered, or?
So I will just go with the last one because I'm also trying to scroll around and see what we answered already and what is not. So we have the two questions from Margaret. Can you comment on how you are preparing for the European health data space? And are the data standards used now likely to be aligned with interoperability requirements from EU Data Act and Interoperable European Act or other EU legislation requiring data to be interoperable and be non-proprietary in nature? Torsten, should you maybe tackle this one?
I wanted to ask colleagues, for instance, Mariano, on the health data space. I mean, there are several, let's say, initiatives which are based on IDS standards, but of course, IDSA is not directly involved in it. So we are not establishing any data spaces, for instance, in verticals or industries. There are other initiatives. And I would also ask the knowledgeable colleagues from those projects who are dealing with the health data space, maybe just like you already did with other examples, to post the respective links into the chat, because this refers then to these data space authorities or projects which are really dealing with the health data space. So this is maybe my take on answer one. Mariano, anything to add?
If I may. So yes, there is a number of initiatives related to the health data space. We, as IDSA, we are not directly involved, as you said, but I think this is the beauty of the user group and the membership of IDSA. We are not, but most probably some of the users and some of the members will be. So as part of the different ecosystem building calls, as part of the solutions arena, is very, very likely that we will have useful input on this regards. So yes.
Great, thank you. And then the second question with data standards and interoperability requirements would be the best to be answered by Sebastian, but I don't know if Sebastian is still in the call. He told me that he has just limited time. Let us see. No, he's not there any longer, but it doesn't matter. We can just answer this question. Or maybe Alberto, are you in the position, or Sylvia? Sylvia can maybe, yes, sorry, I have too many people on my screen. Sylvia, do you want to answer this question or give a hint?
Yes, very briefly, Margaret. The European Commission has launched a standardization request. And as part of this standardization request, it is planned to develop 7 deliverables to cover during the next 2 years in order to develop standards that cover these legislations. One of them, of course, is the Data Act, Article 33 related to interoperability. We will provide more information about this standardization request and IDSA activities on Monday for members, next Monday, as explained before by Shani. But also from IDSA, we are preparing a document to publish the status of the standardization activities that will be public very soon. So that's all that I can share with you at this moment.
Perfect. Thank you, Sylvia. And Alberto, do you want to complement anything else on this topic?
No, not indeed. I see that the answer is perfect there.
Okay, perfect. Great. So then we just have 2 minutes left. I need to, it's hard to differentiate between a question and an AI comment and people sending links. It's a little bit challenging to look simultaneously. Yeah, but I think I spotted no other question. Please also go through the chat. There are a lot of links to some questions from data space initiatives which are already up and running or under development. I think this is fine for the time being. All right, Shani, anything to add from your side?
Just thank you all for joining us. We will take a look, I think, deeper look into the chat to see if we missed anything, and we can also provide with follow-up information about that as well. So there was a lot of activity, so maybe we have missed a few things.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much for this. And with this, 1 minute before 11, I want also from the host side, thank everyone for your participation. And please get in touch with us if you are interested. I think this is an initiative which definitely adds value to the whole community. Thank you very much and have a great remaining day. And also thank you very much for the panelists and the presenter speakers for your great pitches and inputs. Thank you very much and see you soon. Bye-bye.